Our next and final lexicon term for the day for you, Manuel, it's a lovely term. I know everyone will find it just like delicate and beautiful. Snowflake.
Okay, this sounds like a feel good. Now, we don't get snowflakes in California. We do get ash
we do get
raining down on our
snowflakes
cars from all the fires.
mountains.
But the ash drops similar to snowflakes dropping.
Yes, in the mountains we get snowflakes, in the ski resorts and whatnot.
Oh, yeah, those parts of California we do. California has it all. Beaches, snow, all that. But don't come here. We're already crowded. Housing is already expensive.
Plus it's
but
all
on
fire and we don't have any water. So, there's that.
All that.
Yes, but this particular use of the term snowflake is referring to the masses of wonderful people out there who have been, with so much self-righteousness, the advocates of free speech across the country and the accusers of everyone on the left in their political correctness, who now are saying that we need to censor the acclaimed 1619 project from being taught in America's schools. And chief among the snowflakes, we're going to call out the one, the only, number 45, Donald J. Trump, and his stooge-in-chief of the U.S. Department of Education, none other than the number one AOTA show hater, Miss Betsy DeVos. Now,
yeah, she is not AOTA fam. She is not AOTA
Yeah, we
fam.
see those thumbs down on YouTube, Betsy. We see, we're watching you. Okay, so this story, Manuel, it really, we kind of put together from an amalgamation of good reporting from folks from a few outlets. So we want to give a shout out to Christian Spencer from the Grio and Josephine Harvey from Huffington Post. And as some folks may have heard, in the opening days of September, Donald Trump tweeted the Department of Education was investigating whether California public schools had implemented the New York Times 1619 project into their curriculum. He said, and I quote, "The Department of Education is looking at this. If so, they will not be funded." Now, that was on a September 1st tweet that he was sharing from an unverified account stating that California schools were using the curriculum. The 1619 project is, of course, an ongoing initiative from the New York Times Magazine created by Pulitzer-prize winner Nicole Hannah-Jones that began in August of 2019, the 400th anniversary of the beginning of slavery in America. The project aims to reframe the country's history by placing the consequences of slavery and the contributions of Black Americans at the very center of our national narrative, according to the New York Times website. Now, Trump's tweet follows a White House memo, which was also recently released at the end of August, that ordered federal agencies to discontinue racial sensitivity training. The Trump administration claimed that trainings that mention white privilege or suggest that racism is part of the nation's foundation undercut the government's core values. All agencies were directed to cancel any training related to white privilege or critical race theory. This two-page memo was put out by Office of Management and Budget Director Russell Voigt, and who said that the president has directed me to ensure that the federal agencies cease and desist from using taxpayer dollars to fund these divisive, un-American propaganda training sessions. Now, Manuel, I'm just going to take a deep breath here and have like a woosah moment while I let you respond to these disgusting, bigoted, racist, jerk-faced people that we need to talk about here for a minute. So do your thing. I'm just going to take some deep breaths.
You do that, Jeff. Jerk face. Wow, those are
I'm trying to keep it PG-13 here for the AOTA family audience. I got some other words, okay? We can talk about it offline.
Yeah, well, I just want to point out that you promised that our fourth story would be a heartfelt, warm, humanizing story. I'm pretty sure you promised that. Our listeners or viewers could rewind, and see where you promised that. Mm-hmm. But, I'm dismayed that we almost made it through an episode without having to reference this dumpster fire in the White House. We almost made it through, but, it's just, how can you not talk about this? Now, obviously, as a history teacher, there's so many times in history where there's some government some leadership somewhere that accuses some segment of society or some ideas in society of being unpatriotic. And I don't know, Jeff, but I'm pretty sure certain places in history have burned books and certain curriculums because they were quote unquote unpatriotic. And I think, spoiler alert, all those places ended up being terribly fascist, autocratic, undemocratic.
Yep.
So it's this reminds me of that, obviously. I mean, would you be surprised if a collection of Trump supporters somewhere got a whole bunch of copies of the 1619 Project and literally burned it to make a point? Like, I wouldn't be surprised by that at this point. And the whole history repeating itself thing it's almost become cliche. And as a history teacher, I mean, I got to be honest, it's similar to the discussion we had on the passing period a little while ago. Now, I'm not even going to address like whether or not the 1619 Project belongs in schools. Like, if you're listening to this, you already know that it's dope work that belongs in schools. There's no question about that. But going back to something that we discussed in the passing period not too long ago, I'm worried. Like, I'm honestly worried because being a teacher, it's already stressful enough, right? It's stressful enough, period, but especially right now with distance learning or hybrid learning, pandemic teaching, whatever you're doing, it's already difficult. And to know that more than ever before, you have folks on the other side of those screens hearing what you are teaching, seeing what you're teaching, watching over their kids' shoulders. I'm honestly concerned about how many folks are hearing the president, seeing his tweets, believing the garbage that's coming out of his mouth, and lurking in their, in the kitchens and living rooms where their students are working, waiting to see if that teacher says anything that's un-American or if that teacher uses any curriculum that they feel is racist or making America look bad. I can't imagine how many emails and calls and public comments have been made across the nation, various districts and various schools, of parents trying to complain about the content that their kid is getting from their teacher, and those complaints stemming from these discussions, this nonsense that's been coming from the White House. Folks have been almost deputized to be on alert for quote unquote un-American stuff from these so-called liberal, crazy, wacko teachers. And it's just amazing that we're here. And it shouldn't be amazing. I think you said a couple stories ago, this episode, like, shouldn't be shocked by anything at this point, but this is still shocking. It's just sad. It's terribly sad. All I could say for all the teachers out there and all the educators out there, just have a mental picture in mind for when a parent or somebody complains about something that they overheard from your class. I know for myself, now there are folks that very bravely and courageously don't hold back when teaching the honest history of America and who are totally perfectly fine with whatever fire may come from administrators, from parents, from whatever. I, however, don't have the mental capacity right now, the emotional capacity, I should say, to fight those fights. Like, I don't want it. I'm not avoiding anything in my teaching. Of course, my teaching is just as, liberating as it's always been, as I've always tried to make it. But I just really don't want to bother with the angry emails or a snippet of my class ending up on some right-wing podcast and folks trying to come at me. I get enough of that for being affiliated with the work on the Ethnic Studies Model Curriculum, which is work that I'm very proud of. And I definitely expect at some point for the president to tweet about that once that curriculum is made official and approved by the State Board of Education.
You're already on the list, man. You're already
that's coming,
you're already
man.
a pinko commie, collaborator. Already. That's what you.
Man, if you could see some of the emails I've gotten as just for this ethnic studies work,
Rusted, you are already on the FBI list, man. So I say, already, since you're there, enjoy the ride, man.
I guess so, man. Yes. I guess exactly. I mean, it's just, damn it, man. You just, the backlash to having a black president. This is all part of that backlash, and the president wasn't even a radical progressive president, just a middle of the road, moderate president, and the fact that he was half black. We have this backlash that has been going on for years, and it seems to only be getting worse. And it's just so heartbreaking. It begs the question, will I ever have a moment in my life, in my future, where I could look at America and feel that America has truly reconciled with its past and truly acknowledged the horrors of its past. And that ain't gonna happen in my lifetime. And that's sad. Honestly, it's sad. It like breaks my heart. It's just sad.
Yeah, I hear you, man. There's no way to look at this story and not just be like, wow, this is a scary place that we've arrived at. And it is sad to be confronted with the harsh reality that this is where we are. And at the same time, I hope, and your point, I totally appreciate, man. And I, the kind of vulnerability of teachers who are broadcasting themselves into the homes of hundreds of kids every day, right? Or dozens of kids at least every day, is something to consider that I think, is just a new dynamic in what the profession is, right? And so the ability for your words to be recorded, taken out of context, used and sort of weaponized against you is just totally different than it was before. And that's a reality. I also think this is a moment, man, like we are on a scary precipice here from whatever, weak version of democracy we currently have, leaning towards something that is just, in my view, objectively fascist, and the threat that poses, and the role that education, in my view, has to play in challenging that kind of authoritarianism and in preserving the freedom of a democratic society that is a place that can challenge itself, right? That is a citizenry who is educated with truth and not just pure propaganda and lies, that can say, you know what, we haven't lived up to what we say our ideals are. That can say, you know what, we have had serious problems with oppression, and it looks like this, and it manifests today in these kinds of ways, and we want to make the world a better place, right? Like that's fundamentally the business that we're in school, is like developing young people so that they can go out and make the world a better place, right? Like that's what we do. That's our work. And, for us to back away from that now in this moment, I think it's critical that we do not. And I know I'm saying that from sort of the luxurious position of not being a teacher right now, not having to have it be my face that gets plastered on some crazy right-wing blog or whatever, right? So I hear that. And I'm not mad at teachers who make the decision they think is in their best interest right now. But I will say, I hope that what this represents is not only a call to arms for our profession, teachers, administrators, district officials, school board members, anyone who cares about freedom and democracy and, equality in our society, to push back against this kind of just fascist censorship, to say, you know what, the 1619 Project is Pulitzer-prize winning journalism. That is the highest prize that we give to that type of writing, essentially, right? So for them to turn around and say that this excellent piece of journalism that is coming out of one of the most noteworthy, publications in our nation, right? That is one of the most scrutinized and vetted and funded and researched and, et cetera, right? Kinds of publications in our country. To say that it's un-American because it is naming truths about our past is just fundamentally at odds with what I think that, the nature of education should be about. And I think this is a moment, this is a call to arms for us. And I hope that educators will rally behind this cause.
Yeah. I hope you're right. I definitely hope you're right. It's unfortunate that this happens to be happening at a time when so much else is happening in the life of teachers and the world of education with pandemic and all that. And of course, it's no coincidence that this is also happening as an election approaches. And these are all what used to be dog whistles, but are now just straight up bull horns from the president for sure. But hopefully, teachers and educators and district leaders and school board members and everybody does rally together and say, no, this is not what we're gonna allow to happen. All those folks who are like, oh, politics doesn't belong in the classroom. Now's your time to step up and prove that by telling the president you're the person that you voted for, we know about a third of teachers voted for this president, to say like, hey, stay out of our classrooms because that's not welcome here. That fascism, that authoritarianism, that propaganda. All right, folks, that about does it for today's Do Now segment. We had a lot going on in that segment, a lot of stories out there, and we just want to remind y'all to take care of y'all mentals. All right, we will be okay because our students remind us every day that the youth have this covered. We'll be all right. All right, folks. Up next is our class.